Welcome back to KTN Prime. Thank you for staying with us. We continue with our deliberations right here in studio. I'm joined by two legislators, James Gakuya and Kasim Tandaza. And right before the break, we were deliberating on how the broad-based government is holding on, just borrowing from some of the sentiments that have been shared, where we've seen some ODM members actually call out the government despite them being in a working relationship, having signed an MOU on a 10-point agenda. Let's just listen in to some of the sentiments, the political sentiments that were shared over the weekend during the burial of the late Kasipul MP Charles Ong'ondo Were. Listen.
Na kwa mapenzi ya wanachama wa ODM, mimi bado ndio katibu mkuu wa chama cha ODM. Ile kitu najua baba aliniambia ya kwamba even after we donated our experts to government, ODM is not in government. Alisema mwenyewe.
I expect total 100 support from the party, starting with the Secretary General, my brother Sifuna. Please, I am a member of your party. I don't belong to any other party. I belong to ODM. If I fail, there is no way 2027 you are talking about. You will convince anyone that ODM can run a government.
People can talk and talk this way and this way. Ultimately, there's an official position that will be articulated by the party. And the spokesman of the party is usually the Secretary General, Mr. Sifuna. When Mr. Sifuna speaks, he's speaking on behalf of the party. But then, Mr. Sifuna, saa ingine hapana kwa chungu sana.
Okay, Tandaza, as you come in, there are those who believe that Sifuna speaks with the blessings of Raila Odinga, that you cannot throw caution to the wind when it comes to some of the issues they're trying to raise in terms of how uncomfortable they are with one or two things within the broad-based arrangement. Talk to us about your reaction to that, because there are hardliners in a party, there are moderates in a party. At the end of the day, should the moderates be rattled by what the hardliners have to say?
Jesse Rogers, for heaven's sake, you having been a veteran now in this field, you know some basics of the Political Parties Act, isn't it? You know that for a party to be in government, there's a process to be followed. There is pre-coalition agreement and post.
Yes.
We know very well as we speak, ODM does not have a post-coalition agreement with UDA. True or false?
True.
So when Sifuna says they're not in government, he's right. He's stating the obvious. I don't know, in fact, why he's taking a lot of time and energy to restate that I'm the Secretary General. By the way, in management, for some causes for us who have done management, the moment you start telling your employees that you know that I'm the MD here, then for sure there's something wrong. So I would fault Sifuna on that statement. He's the Secretary General. He's the one having the instruments of ODM. The political office recognizes him. He doesn't have to tell us. And what he has stated is obvious. It's agreed. They have not joined the government because there are formal ways. They are stipulated how they can join the government. So how does that become a debate now? You see. Two, even what Mbanda said, I'm seeing people now are getting him wrong. The law is very clear. You cannot be a CS if you hold an official position in a political party. It does not bar one being a member of a political party. So what is the problem there? I think we need to remind ourselves about the current laws that we're operating in. Why one finds it strange that, why is he saying that he belongs to ADM and he is a CS? The law allows him to be a member of a political party. Certainly he will not continue to be a CS if he were to hold the position of a chairman, which he resigned. That is within the law. So what is all these speculations that we are talking about? But I can add one thing. The next general election, the winner, the presidential winner of the next general election, we should also stop thinking that he will be decided by tribal coalitions the way Gachagua is trying to come up with. There are so many other factors now which Kenyans would want to see. which one will their livelihoods been better than 2022 before the elections?
Okay. Has
the economy improved? Are we still importing mahindi? Are we still importing sugar? That means it's expensive. Has the dollar gone down? That means now the other essential things that we cannot produce locally, we can import them and therefore become cheaper. That is why now fuel is coming down because the dollar is going down. Those are the factors that will be considered. So this also other notion that for us in UDA and for the president for the next general election, he needs ODM for him to succeed. I think that is also, we are misdirecting ourselves. Kenyans start from northeastern to western, of course, to central, to Nairobi, to coast. And anybody can belong to any political party, it is his right. Mm-hmm. But of course, he can still vote for the president of his or her choice, depending on the performance and the aspirations and hopes that he has for that president. And if it comes to that scenario, I can assure you, asubuhi mapema Ruto amerudi. Wakati wao wengine wanaanza kujipanga, wewe una kura ngapi, wewe unaleta nini, wewe huna watu wako. Outdated.
Okay. So you're not bothered by the divided voices within the ODM wing. Some say that this is betrayal in the offing, you know.
I would also expect that. Eh?
Okay.
There was a time in Parliament, in the 12th Parliament, where Millie Odhiambo was moving some amendments in a bill. And I think that was captured when I rose on a point of order and said, Millie, you are the one raising these amendments. All of us have agreed to second them and say aye, but you are not saying it because you are used to saying nay. You know, there are some things which somebody is embedded in them. So there are some people who are stuck in the opposition that they have to oppose. Okay. And that one is also within their democratic right. But generally, I think if Nyanza, Coast, Northeastern, Central, and every Western gets a fair share of development, and the people feel that their lives are better, why not vote for the same government to continue delivering its mandate? If it doesn't, then that is another, that will be another departure. But for now, I don't think as UDA, our life support is ODM. That is not true.
Gakuya, do you agree with that?
It can't be.
Let us agree that the truth is that the survival of the incumbent is anchored under what we call ODM. And that is correct. Nothing short of that. You may try to ignore Laila factor and ODM factor, but the correct position is today, if Ruto had no interest with his survival in politics after the election that was done in Ethiopia of the AU, then he would not have such a serious interest to make sure that he compromised Laila. One, to share position in parliament. Two, to share slots in state slots. And whatever, even today, I'm sure that, you know, Uhuru survived with Laila. And he never sacrificed his government. It was only a handshake. But Ruto has gone so far, even to allow cabinet positions to be slotted to the ODM, including Abadasadio positions, including PSs, including the leadership in the chamber, in the parliament. That tells you he's moving this far for his own protection. And the reason is one. If Laila is not with you today, the route that you have taken Gachagua is most likely to occur. And his only savior today is only numbers from ODM. And they left them there to ignore Laila and throw him out. And I want him to convince me how they will survive in this game. Yes.
Just as we start. I don't know why Gakuya is so, is it infuriated or fixated with the ODM? Are you aware that we have some CSS from Jubilee?
Can he tell us?
No.
How are they able
Are you aware that we have just the same way we have CSS from ODM? Are you aware
they
that
want to
there are
raise
CSS
Odinga
from
out
Jubilee?
so that they can
Okay.
get marshal numbers to throw Gachagua out?
Let's give them
and the
a
same
chance.
case
Yeah.
appears even today.
Okay.
And let me tell you, the most tricky way is the house numbers.
Simple.
Yes, simple.
Mheshimiwa Gakuya, CSS in government. Are you aware that we have CSS from Jubilee?
Who? Mutai Kagwe? Who are you
Mutai
referring to?
Kagwe, Lee Kinyanjui. I'm not sure of Kabogo whether he was in Jubilee or he had his own party,
Okay.
Jiwadi party.
Yes.
That's not even now Jubilee. Of course, we have CSS from Maendeleo Chap. And are you aware of that? But I'm concentrating on the Jubilee ones, including now PSS from the Jubilee wing, including the same ambassadorial appointments from Jubilee. And what is wrong in that? Because we know, and this one, there is no dispute about it, that Kenyans, as we speak, most of us still believe in our ethnicity and our regions. And what is wrong in having all Kenyans contributing to the running of this government, if the president, if the winning team so wishes? You know, this was not forced. It is a question of if Lee Kinyanjui can bring something on the table. Why not? He's from Jubilee. If Oparanya can bring something in terms of running this government, why not? He's a Kenyan. And that is the way it should go. This idea of saying it's us against them, we know where it has taken us to. I would want to credit Raila for one thing. Remember 2007, what happened? He joined government, we got our peace, isn't it? Because all what we would want to say here, if there is no peace, we might not even be debating in these chambers, true or false. Now, when it came to this one, remember, this came as a result of what happened in Gen Z. If you want, I will go into the detail of what came out of that one. Gakuya knows best, who engineers the issue of Gen Z. But Raila comes in and stabilizes. We are now able to go to work. There is no tear gas Thursday, there is no tear gas Monday. It's good for everybody. It's good for either you're an ODM member, a Jubilee member, a UDA member, or an independent. It's good for everybody.
Should I tell you who it's not good for?
Okay.
If I can be the devil's advocate.
Please.
This arrangement was signed on a 10-point agenda.
Yes.
Out of those 10 points, how many have been implemented as we speak right now?
One of the critical one was IBC. Has it been implemented or not?
It's ongoing, yes.
That's
one of the few. Should I talk about...
Of course, it cannot be implemented, all of them at the same time. Some of them, there are bills to be passed, isn't it? One of the whole of last week, including himself, I believe we had public participation forums in his constituency on the NGCDF and the NGAF and the Senate Oversight Fund to be interested in the Constitution. That is not anything. This is not a presidential directive. The president does not have the power to say, now I've ordered this one because it was in the 10-point agenda to be included. But all those are on course, including, I will say, the most contentious one, which has been hanging for the last 2.5 years, the IBC. Now we are there. We are resuming.
What about compensation of victims of abductions and extrajudicial killings? That's equally one of them. We haven't seen much progress. In fact, the president said all of them have been returned, which is a blatant lie.
Honestly, if you have the exact numbers, because these numbers keep on changing. IPOA has its own number, Kenya National Human Rights has its own number. If you go to the social media, they have their own numbers, and the police has their own numbers. So unless you can confess that you have the exact numbers to know how many were abducted, how many have been returned, and how many are still there, I might not really give an exact answer.
Okay, but anyway,
if in terms of the 10-point agenda, if it was that if there are still some in abduction, they should be returned, and they have been returned, then you should say that is also a tick amongst the 10-point agenda, not to say it has not been done. And you have said some have been done. Maybe it's all, as the president says. Because amongst the three of us here, if there's anybody who is mostly briefed by the intelligence services and the information, it's none other than the president.
But that intelligence seems to have some gaps, because we've highlighted stories of families who are still saying, hey, the president is a little bit insensitive when he says all of them have been returned, yet their loved ones are still missing. You get that disconnect?
People go on missing every day, including our missing member of parliament, who is now missing last week, he was murdered, assassinated, abducted. Okay, he was not abducted,
he
but
wasn't
killed.
abducted,
Yeah,
he
but
was
killed,
murdered.
isn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
So every day, if you are to go to your records, there will be people missing. And it will also be very wrong to assume that every missing person is missing because of the security agencies. I think we've had several cases where love triangle, other reasons, people go missing. So now it is upon who has the correct data, and as I sit here, it should be the security agencies who brief the president.
Okay.
Otherwise, anybody can take an advantage. You know very well, if people were told to say now, can you register for free money if your earnings are below 10,000 shillings? I can assure you, even for those who earn more than 50, will register for that. Those are the Kenyans that we know. And it's not any different. People will take advantage.
Okay,
Let's see what happened during when there were floods in Mukuru, Kayaba, and whatever. The government says very well, we are going to compensate those who are affected with 10,000 shillings. By the time the list came, the number was more than the total population of that area. You know,
anyway,
sometimes we are
give
our own
and take.
issues as Kenyans.
Gakuya, give us your final take on that particular matter. Yeah.
One, let me say that, in fact, in particular, the yesterday's statement made by the head of state, to me, it was a very cunning statement, taking note that it is like the head of state conceded that, yes, we knew where these youths were being locked. And that's why we are confirming to the nation and the world that they are now not locked.
They've been released.
They are now been released and they are back to their families. That is confirmed. You had the full knowledge of who does the abduction, where the abducted were being kept, and now you are confirming that they are already released. So you have that informed. You have that information, so it tells you that you have been always informed. And this now takes me back to the complaint made by Muturi, the former cabinet minister, when he said that his son was abducted. And it only takes the head of state to make a call to the head of the intelligence to release his son. And therefore, it is wrong to have such kind of saga when the state itself is the one which is abducting its own young ones, and then it can be able to exclude itself from this element of extrajudicial. If you own the abduction, you must also own the extrajudicial killings, because those who are not seen, those who disappeared, who else can we ask? If today you have considered that you knew what has been transpiring with this abducted, who else would you ask about those dead? We can only ask you. And then at this point in time, it's important to understand that the backstop at the head of state, whether the failure is these other agencies. At the end of the day, who can you ask a question? It's the head of state, because everything is reported to him. And in this particular matter, yesterday, it is not an agency which came out to say that the youths that have been abducted has already been released to their family. It is head of state. And therefore we take it very seriously. That if it's head of state which is confirming that now they are already released, then he had the full knowledge. And my big question is, could this be happening with his knowledge? And all through, we have been taken to circles, mark timing, that the state does not know what has been cooking.
In fact, the police equally said they don't know what's happening. They're not the ones responsible.
That's
So
what they
there seems to be so much denial, but no one is actually putting action, trying to find out who's behind this, giving solid answers to the families that are seeking for their loved ones and whatnot. So it's such a...
To conclude, I want to say this.
Yes.
For the head of state to be seen working for the people who elected him, with the whole pain and bitterness of the families who have lost their children on this saga of extrajudicial killing, the head of state should move on and either look for a commission which will investigate the whole saga.
Okay.
Because you cannot be able to say police officers did abduction, officers did extrajudicial killings, and then you want to say that at a stage the youth has been already released to their families, and leave it there. If there was no intention by the state, then action should be taken to the officers who did that. How can you leave those such officers on duty when these particular action, if the head of state were not familiar to the actions that are taken by them?
Well, people will tell you IPOA is working.
Of course, that what we need to see.
As we finalize, yes.
We need to see a serious government taking concern.
All right.
If we have lost young ones,
Noted.
Then how should we cure the pain of the families? Either we compensate, and the way to compensate, find a commission so that the truth can be found, and then action can be taken to those officers who take that particular act.
Proper 30 seconds, Kasim. Yeah.
One, Mheshimiwa Gakuya is in this sitting parliament. Instead of lamenting here, he has also an avenue of petitioning Parliament for a commission to be formed. He has not done it, none has done it. I can also do it, of course, because for every life lost, it's too much. We cannot,
one life is too many.
Yeah, we cannot wish away the families where they're missing their loved ones. But remember, as I've initially said, when it comes to creating chaos, you cannot really blame. We do not have enough policemen to contain chaos in Nairobi, in Mombasa, and everywhere. And then you ended with a very good statement that the current constitution that we are in, we have a commission dedicated by the constitution to handle any misbehaviors, any mishandling
by police.
Or by the police.
Yes.
And that is a commission that should be doing its work. The president has been on record before giving numbers about those who are missing. But of course, not every missing person is in police custody. Sometimes the police even rescue abductions by robbers, by rogues, by whatever, and that is a good job which they do. So for now, can IPOA do its work? Because it's mandated by the Constitution to handle those issues.
Okay, gentlemen, that's all the time we had. I wish we had time to talk about the finance bill, which public participation is starting this Friday, but that's a story for another day. Thank you so much for your time and your input right here. We appreciate your time. Asante sana Kasim Tandaza, Member of Parliament, Matuga constituency, and James Gakuya, Member of Parliament, Embakasi North. Thank you so much for watching. On behalf of the entire team, including Ashley Mazuri, we say good evening. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.